At Sierra, discover top workout gear at incredible prices, which might lead to another discovery. Your headphones haven't been connected this whole time. Awkward. Discover top brands at unexpectedly low prices. Sierra, let's get moving.
Prime's exclusive wildcard playoff game is Saturday night. Jordan Love and the Packers take on Caleb Williams and the Bears. Not a Prime member? Sign up for a 30-day free trial to stream the game.
That's going to be caught for the touchdown.
NFC North rivals square off in the latest chapter of the NFL's oldest feud. The Packers and Bears in Prime's exclusive wildcard playoff game. Saturday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Only on Prime. Sign up for a 30-day free trial today. Restrictions apply. See Amazon.com/Amazon Prime for details.
Comfort is often the first thing we're willing to give up, like taking a long flight for a vacation or waking up early for a workout. But don't let style be the reason you aren't comfy. Mack Weldon's Ace Collection makes it effortless to look put together while feeling truly comfortable. Inspired by their best-selling sweatpants, the Ace Collection combines everyday comfort with long-lasting and confident looks. Upgrade your collection for the new year with bomber jackets, half-zips, sweats, crew necks, and much more. Get comfortable anywhere with Mack Weldon's Ace Collection. Go to MackWeldon.com and get 20% off your first order of $125 or more with promo code MACK25. That's MackWeldon.com. Promo code MACK25.
Hello and welcome to the Paddock and The Pavilion, probably the only podcast that covers both horse racing and cricket. With me, your host, Stephen Wallace. My opening guest for 2026 is Sam Martin, a rising young racing journalist and a regular on the show. Sam joins me to discuss the current major topics in the racing world, both on and off the course, and to share her insightful opinions on the issues shaping the sport. We also review her exciting racing year of 2025, including working at the Cheltenham Festival and the Grand National, as well as writing for the Injured Jockeys Fund newsletter. It's an enjoyable and engaging conversation with one of the young stars of the racing industry. Welcome back to the Paddock and the Pavilion, Sam.
Thank you very much for having me.
A happy new year to you.
Yes, happy new year to you and all your listeners.
You were last on the show in episode 314 in January 25. How was your Christmas?
My Christmas was lovely, thank you. Yeah, very enjoyable. Nice family time.
And you got to watch plenty of racing on the television?
Yes, we arranged all meals around it, of course. And it was just absolutely fantastic, wasn't it? I think that King George is just going to go down as an absolute classic. It was so thrilling and I think exactly what racing needed.
Yeah, you don't normally get like 3 or 4 horses in with a chance of winning when they jump the last fence.
It was amazing. They all kind of picked up on the same stride and it really was anyone's race towards the end. And the Jukebox Man was just so brave and Ben Jones is just fantastic in a finish. And it was, I mean, the other horses, they were all so brave as well. And none of them really lost anything in defeat, really. So it's it was just like mind-blowing to watch. So exciting.
And on a wider point then, where do you think that leaves the Cheltenham Gold Cup in March?
As a very, very exciting race. I don't think necessarily we've had any horse kind of completely stand out this week in terms of like saying that horse will absolutely 100% win. Few horses have disappointed. The Jukebox Man, don't get me wrong, has very much put himself into the picture. But if you look at the betting, it's a very, very open race. There's a lot of horses that you could conceivably see winning it. I imagine things will become a lot clearer after the Dublin Racing Festival. But I think that's kind of what you want, isn't it? It was really, really nice to have Galopin obviously win as many as he has. But then last year when he got beat, there was like a really deflated feeling around the race course. So to go into it this year, I think it's really like made the race super exciting and that there can be so many horses with chances.
And last year's winner's still near the top of the betting, but not performed very well so far.
Yes, it's a bit peculiar. I mean, he was a bit of a surprise when he did win the Gold Cup, and he obviously hasn't necessarily backed it up this season. And I think that just goes to show just what an achievement Galopin has done, and Albin Photo before him, like to be able to back up so well and to run so consistently for so long, it is a very difficult ask for a horse. I mean, there's a tiny chance maybe they're thinking of the Grand National down the line, and it's not the worst thing in the world if his if I know the way you think his handicap mark goes down, but I don't know if that's the plan. So he's with a fantastic trainer, and he will be able to get him back, I'm sure. So like I said, the picture will probably become a bit clearer of where we're at with him down the line as well, and um, just a really, just a yeah, we'll just have to see with him. Some horses take their racing better than others.
And where are you with the champion hurdle following wins by Sergino and Lossiemouth?
Oh, that's another exciting race as well, isn't it? I mean, it's you can generate plenty of debate around the champion hurdle and the mare's hurdle, and even throwing the stayers into the mix with where different horses could go. And Sergino did everything you needed him to do at Kempton to show he's back in full working order, which is absolutely fantastic because it was really touch and go with him for a long time. But he's clearly in rude health, loves his job, very much a chaser. But where with the champion hurdle division, I think quite open, you may as well go for it. He does seem to have a fabulous chance, but we know Lossiemouth is so brave. She put in a really, really good performance over Christmas as well. Hopefully she'll go to the champion hurdle. Obviously very slightly changed the mare's hurdle conditions, with it being on the new course and things. So it will perhaps be a little bit more of a stamina test, and we'll just have to see there what they decide to do with her. I'm sure they'll keep us guessing for plenty of time, but it's another race that looks absolutely fascinating, and yeah, you never know.
So you think they're right in going hurdling with Sergino?
I just think for the fact he's returned at Christmas, you've only kind of got half the season left, so you may as well, crack on with that over hurdles. He's still a baby, like he's still got conceivably, 4 or 5 more years racing, so he kind of does still have the world at his hooves, and it wasn't necessarily a proper physical issue that he had that means he could be vulnerable in time with it kind of recurring or anything. So I don't see the harm in winning a champion hurdle, and then going for the champion chase next year. So yeah, I mean, I think if Constitution Hill had won the other day, perhaps Sergino would have gone over fences, but like I say, that last part of the season, it can be quite intense for horses, and it'd just be nice to see him turn up to extend that record and then go over fences again.
Yeah, hard to believe that last year when we were speaking, Constitution Hill had just won the Christmas hurdle and was 7-4 on to win the champion hurdle.
How things can change. Horses keep us on our toes, don't they? I mean, bless him. It's just so like disappointing that he's fallen, and just on those occasions, and it's such a shame that he's not kind of reached the heights that we all hoped he would for whatever reason. And it is just such a different situation, like you say, to when we were talking a year ago.
Another thing that happened only yesterday, we're recording here on the 2nd of January, was the incredible crowd at Cheltenham for the New Year's Day fixture.
That was so reassuring. I think what we've seen this Christmas is that people are really, really willing to go racing. People absolutely love the day out, with it as a day out for their friends and to have a nice time, and particularly like racing on New Year's Eve or New Year's Day. It's a really great way to spend time with friends and family, and that seems to really have come to the fore with lots of kids as well going racing too, and just having a brilliant time, because we all know that racing is such a fantastic day out, and I think that really, really shone through over Christmas. And
Yes.
clearly Cheltenham did something right to attract all those people, because I think I read it was more than Champion Chase Day, which was obviously a very, very quiet day at Cheltenham this year. So hopefully we can get that nice positive crowd numbers going into the rest of the National Hunt season as well, because plenty of race courses are doing really, really well at the minute. Newbury and Ascot spring to mind. So yeah, they're really, really positive signs going into 2026.
Yes, it wasn't just Cheltenham, as you say, it was race courses around the country that had big crowds.
Yeah, I mean, Warwick sold out, Uttoxeter sold out, Leicester had one of its biggest crowds for their race day last Sunday, and somebody said to me the other day, the weather has really helped. Yes, it's been very cold, but no rain, no snow, no, not really any abandonments apart from poor Exeter. So getting people have been able to get on course quite easily, just wrapped up warm and like take in the festive spirit.
Let's move on then, Sam, to your racing year. I've written a few things down. I'm sure you'll elaborate a bit more, but you've written articles again for the Times for the Cheltenham Festival, the Aintree Grand National. You've written for the IJF newsletter, and you were on Nick Luck TV.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, his Look on Sunday show, which was absolutely incredible, just the most fantastic experience you could possibly imagine. I mean, I was sat on the sofa with Nick and Nico de Boinville, and I was just completely fangirling. And Matt Shepherd came along as well as a guest, and he's fantastic. You need to interview him. But it was just such a wonderful, exciting experience. Some really interesting debates, and particularly around invades, and then Matt's cousins came on and was talking about the greyhounds and gambling and things. And I mean, that was just like such an interesting debate to listen to and to hear his side of things and then see the aftermath on Twitter and the way people were talking about it. And it definitely got people talking, that's for sure. And I suppose that's the point of the show, isn't it? To chat about racing, and it was an absolute pleasure to get to do so.
Yeah, how long do you get to before you to go on, and how nervous were you going live on telly?
Well, I was trying not to fangirl too much. That was my thing, I think. Because I obviously really look up to Nick Luck as a person and as a TV presenter. But it was just really brilliant to just turn up, and we were just all nattering and had a cup of tea, and they really, really put me at ease. The producer and Nick, and it was a really, really awesome experience. I'm one of those I don't get particularly nervous when I talk about racing, because it did just feel like a chat. I kind of just tried to think about, like, the cameras weren't there, and it was just an absolute pleasure to do in every way. Yeah, it was absolutely phenomenal.
So credit to them making you so relaxed, so you could just talk about what you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, they were absolutely lovely. Really brilliant. It was yeah, it was surreal at times, but really they were absolutely fabulous. I couldn't have asked for a better first dabble into TV.
You mentioned invades there. Can you let listeners know a bit more about that?
Yeah, so one of the points that Nick asked me to talk about was Invades, which is a company created by Dominic Matcham, who basically gets busloads of university students and ships them to the races, and they are just allowed to have a really brilliant day out. So they get taken directly from the university to the racecourse and back, so it's a nice, safe process, and they get discounted tickets because basically Invades buy up some of the tickets that the racecourse know they won't sell. So you can have, like, sometimes it can be upwards of like 2,500, 3,000 people who come along and really boost that atmosphere. I went to Ascot with them to write an article for the Times in mid-February, and it was just such a fantastic day. Like, everyone was so excited and keen to be there, and it was so cold, but they were so engaged with the action. And I think they can get a really bad rep from a lot of people, particularly kind of older race goers who don't particularly like to see younger people on the race courses, because I'm just going to say it how it is. That's it, really. The backlash from Invades. I'm trying to look into it as maybe a little bit more positive and constructive, their criticisms, but I don't think there is that many out there anymore. Unfortunately, it's just a lot of people have been won round to the idea, but a lot of others just don't like the idea of young people on race courses, as if they're infringing on their space. But I think the beautiful thing about racing is that it's anybody can go and enjoy it, regardless of their backgrounds and regardless of their ages. And racing needs to really open its doors and welcome as many people from as many different backgrounds as possible.
Well, that's the future of the sport. You've got to get young people involved. If not, there is no future for horse racing or any sport.
Absolutely, and it's not just young people being invited in, it's anybody really. It can be any age, old or young, wherever they come from, whatever they're interested in. I like to think there's always something exciting and interesting at the racecourse for anybody, and that there's no point resting on your laurels in racing. You can always be doing more to attract more people to the sport, and why not let more people come and experience such exciting things as we get to see with, races like the King George.
And with Invade, do you think progress is being made? There's more of these tickets being sold to people.
Yeah, definitely more progress being made. I know I've heard of a few people who like I've spoken directly to people who've come back and having gone the first time, and I saw a lot of people we used to go to school with I still follow on Instagram. We follow each other, and they'd got pictures of going racing on their 2025 wrap ups, or they always posted a picture with their friends. Like it's a day out that people genuinely really enjoy, and it's a just a really nice thing for people to do, and that must be progress, because if they have a positive experience, they're going to want to come back, and it's down to the race courses to take that and be able to provide a brilliant service, because it is true that the young people do get special treatment on race days if they go with Invades. They get discounted tickets, and obviously tickets are such a controversial thing with the pricing, but the the race courses themselves are going to have to think, okay, well, what can we do to actually make sure these people come back and make sure we give them value for money, even when the tickets are a little bit more expensive. So it's all about just making sure that you can go from Invades as a young person to at university to going racing in the big outside world, and have that as it still be a really, really good day, if that makes sense.
Certainly makes sense. Let's just go back to Cheltenham and Aintree. You were writing again for the Times, working with Brough again at Cheltenham.
Yeah, Rough Scott at Cheltenham, which was absolutely fantastic. It's just such an honour to be able to do that, and to only be, I was 20 at the time, and be in a position to write in the Times and go and pick up the paper every morning and see my own work in it. It's absolutely just such an honour, and Brough is so wonderful with his time, and so is Rob Wright, and they're absolutely fantastic in supporting me and letting me kind of write and help me out and give feedback and print my work. So I'm very, very grateful to them. I worked with them at Cheltenham, and then it was very nice to have an article in the paper on Grand National Day, which was the Race IQ article. So Paige Fuller, who used to be a jockey, such a brilliant girl. She's fantastic. She's so good at what she does, and just a thoroughly lovely person. She is kind of the mind behind Race IQ and all their public output, and it was great to interview her and hear about all the statistics they're developing for racing to make it more engaging for people who perhaps go like a bit more I suppose data-driven sports like football, cricket, golf, that sort of thing, bring it into racing, and tipped Meeting of the Waters, and using her system and putting together a few of the statistics that Race IQ provide, and I think he finished fourth or fifth, but he was in the each way money, and I know a few people who had some nice little bets on him, nice little returns, so it was all very good.
Yeah, you've just mentioned way back in episode 67, I spoke to Paige Fuller when she was still a jockey.
Yes, you'll have to interview her again and hear about what she's been up to, because she's absolutely fascinating to hear. Her career trajectory has been amazing. She's such a lovely person, and yeah, I feel very lucky to know her and have had the privilege of interviewing her.
One of the things I can remember about Paige is that she went to university and wasn't there very long before she packed up university and carried on her passion as a jockey.
Oh, right. It's funny, a few jockeys actually that I've interviewed recently.
Nico de Boinville was one, wasn't he?
Nico de Boinville, yeah. Nico de Boinville did history degree. Alan Johns started a history degree as well. The three of us were all in the same boat, and I always have funny chats with them about it. Yeah, Nico has a degree going. So it's yeah, it's funny actually. Different trajectories people can take.
What's your deadlines when you're doing these articles for the festivals? Before you've got to get them sent off.
Normally I just submit before the end of the day racing. That works with our deadlines for the Times. So just try and watch the racing as well as writing. Dipping in and out of the press room and things, but it's just a brilliant thing to be able to do. So exciting to actually be reporting on a race day. Anything
else I missed out on in 2025?
Did you want to talk a bit more about the Injured Jockeys Fund?
Oh yes, Injured Jockeys, yeah, and you've been interviewing some quite famous people recently. John Frankham.
Yes, I got to interview John Frankham, which was amazing. I got a text saying, "Oh, would you like to interview John Frankham?" I was like, yes, please. That was another one where I had to try not to fangirl too much. But he was absolutely fantastic to talk to, reflecting on the King George and his winners, and so he was like, Sam, they're a very long time ago. But he's just a thoroughly lovely person to get to speak to, and I mean, my granddad was such a big fan of his, so to actually get to interview him was really special for me and my family as a whole. Really, my mum and auntie were very impressed with that, and it was really lovely. I've really enjoyed the interviews I've done lately. I mean, I caught up with Lady Oaksey at Cheltenham to hear about obviously the important work the IGF do with selling things to raise money for the charity on courses, and Tristan Dorrell was great to talk to after his Hennessy win. He is just a really excited, like really talented jockey going places, really good talker. I can say the same about Freddie Gordon actually, who I spoke to in November after his big treble at Haydock. He was really lovely, and then they're both at the start of their careers and definitely names to keep an eye out for. And just really, like I spoke to Jim Crowley as well after his bad accident, which really highlighted the mindset of riders, and he's so determined to get back, and it was really nice of him to be so open and transparent with me. And Nico as well, I spoke to him when he was recovering from his injury just before he came back, and it's very nice of them to answer my questions and be so open and honest. I really felt very lucky to have those conversations with them.
There's a few stars there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really very, very cool little job. I'm very grateful to the Injured Jockeys Fund and Bruff and for letting me do it and keeping my eye in with the writing and things alongside university.
Let's move on then to racing 2025. I was going to ask you your horse of the year on the flat and on the jumps.
Oh, I think Kalangadan. You're gonna have to give me a dual purpose one as well. We're gonna have to do three. Kalangadan. I think he's been absolutely phenomenal this year. I really liked him. I saw him as a 3-year-old at Royal Ascot, and he's just such a sweet horse. Me and Donnelly and Bolger call him our little Frenchie because you can just tell he's a French racehorse. But he's gorgeous. And a gelding, so we can hopefully see him for a few more years. And then I'm having the dual purpose one because it has to be Ethical Diamond. Having won a maiden hurdle, I can't remember where, for my 20 to watch, and then going on to win the Duke of Edinburgh at Royal Ascot and the Ebor and then Breeders' Cup Turf. He's a proper little superstar. It's a proper little superstar.
He even surprised Willie Mullins. Even he didn't think he was going to win that race, did he?
I know. He was just. It just suited him down to the ground. He's such a trier, and he. I mean, me and one of his owners always say, like, I think it's Michael O'Sullivan looking down on him. The two of them had such a great partnership together. Ethical Diamond wasn't easy to start off with, and Michael O'Sullivan rode him quite a bit, and obviously we very much miss Mikey, and I think he helps out Ethical Diamond looking down on him a fair bit. So it was a really special win when he managed to win the Breeders' Cup Turf.
And your National Hunt Horse of the Year?
It's got to be Secret Squirrel, just because he hasn't actually ran that much this season. He won at Windsor, which was fantastic. But then he had a really terrible fall, and Huey Morrison and team have managed to nurse him back to health. And he's riding out and he's popping jumps, and it's really lovely because it was a really serious injury that he sustained. But they are such a fantastic team at Summerdown, and they are just the most lovely people. Been very good to me, and I'll go and see Squirrel soon. And he's just got so much. He's just so beautiful, and he's got such a fan base now, and to see him back and in good health is just so wonderful.
And your race of the year?
Ethical Diamond's Breeders' Cup Turf. I think that was absolutely fantastic. But if one we've not mentioned, Paneros winning the Triumph was pretty cool. I absolutely lost the plot on track. Probably one of the only times I've done so this season. This year in 2025 was when he managed to win. Just because I'd mentioned him on a couple of podcasts. It's just, why would Willie Mullins put an unraced horse in the Triumph if he wasn't any good? So there was a couple in the race, and I did flag up to a few people to have a look, and obviously he won at 100 to 1, and a few people have backed him, so that was quite nice. But yeah, those two races I think stick in my head.
And I've got to mention it this year because it happened in more than one race. What did you make to all these pacemakers that sort of changed some races this year?
Oh, I just find it so. I just don't. I don't like it. I just think it ruins things a little bit because, I think horse should just be able to run it on its own merits without needing a pacemaker. And I know Frankel had a pacemaker, but I think he'd have won regardless. But I just think it can take away from the race a little bit. Like you say, it kind of messed with the races and really changed them, and I just don't really like that much. It's always good when a pacemaker managed to win, though, like Kirat. It's hilarious, and I really like it when they win. But I think when it just got a little bit tedious through the flat season, I think, with all these horses bolting out in front, and it's not really actually making that much of a difference to the horses behind them. And it makes the form harder to judge and that sort of thing. And there's perhaps not as much value to the Group 1s when that happens.
So what in your opinion was the best thing that happened in racing in 2025?
I think it's been a fairly trying year for the sport. A lot has gone not wrong necessarily, but there's been plenty of challenges. I think, like I said earlier, so many people going out and having good days over Christmas, that's really, really important. And Harry Redknapp winning with the Jukebox Man, that's something that could really put racing into the mainstream press because we really, really need that. And to get those positive stories, I think that probably, the Christmas period is probably one of the best things that happened in racing in 2025.
You are listening to The Paddock and the Pavilion with me, Stephen Wallace. If you missed Sam's last appearance on the show in episode 314, Sam's Special Year, you can download that episode along with nearly 400 others on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, or via our YouTube channel. Now let's return to Sam's Racing Annual 2025. Changing tack completely, you're still riding yourself?
Yes, yeah, I've had a couple of, I had a bit of a, not my own doing hiatus where I just didn't have any horses to ride, but managed to get back in the saddle a couple of times when I was away at uni, and it's really nice, and it just very good for your mental health, as my mum always says, and really enjoyable, and I feel like I've made so much progress lately, so that's really good, and looking forward to getting back to it when I get back down to uni.
So how often do you get to
Very
ride?
rarely.
Very rarely. Oh, right. Yeah.
It takes a lot of time and money, which when I'm at uni are not two things I have, to be able to go riding. But it's good and it's important to me to get better and be as good as I can do for, hopefully riding racehorses one day because that's the end goal. And just working towards that and enjoying it and riding nice horses. So
interesting point though. But you think that I can imagine that in the job that you're doing, it must help if you've ridden and you know what a racehorse is like.
I imagine so. Yeah, I've worked with horses for a long time on a just a regular yard, and I think it does help to know their body language and to know kind of their likes and dislikes, and I think you get an appreciation for, the fact that horses are just like people, they have off days, and I think when you've not dealt with horses you don't necessarily appreciate that as much, because there's plenty, like we were saying with, I know you were thinking we don't know what's going on in his head, and the people around him will know whether he's been spot on or not and things, and or whether I think that, you saw afterwards he was a bit quiet, and I think knowing horses you can know what that looks like, but it's just as much as anyone else, I think people who have no practical experience around horses or haven't ridden or haven't been a jockey, obviously, I think they can still be absolutely fantastic pundits and commenters on racing. So it's not an exact science that you need to know racing. You need to know horses to know racing. But I mean, I just love them as animals. That's my attraction to racing. So it's really nice to get the opportunity to ride when I can, especially as the yard that I ride at has some ex-race horses. So just getting a little bit more experience on thoroughbreds, and they're obviously not race fit or anything like that. I don't think I'd quite be able to ride one of them just yet, but it's always a stepping stone.
Well, good luck with that. Talking
you.
about a horse we don't know what he's thinking about, moving on to a few racing topics before we close. What would you do with Constitution Hill?
Oh gosh, that's the big question, isn't it? I mean, I don't think he's a bad jumper. He just makes bad errors. He makes very rare bad errors. He has so much experience. Has so much ability, sorry, and clearly so much big experience already, but that doesn't seem to make much difference. I think they should try the flat on him. With him, he's a very, very talented racehorse. and he seems to have a lot of speed, and I think he would have that. That would be an asset to him on the flat. I would absolutely love for him to get back to winning ways over hurdles, and I think that he probably could, but it's whether you want to take that risk for him and Nico. We know how easily things can go disastrously wrong, and it would be horrific for racing if something was to happen to him, or for him to fall again. I think if people, we know how the antis are. And it's just not worth taking that risk with him because he's such a wonderful horse, and no horse should have that risk taken. They shouldn't they shouldn't be sent racing if you think they might hurt themselves. It's just not the right thing to do, I think. So, but I completely trust Nicky. If he sends him back over hurdles, he will be 100% sure that he's okay. And 100% sure, that he's got him in the best possible position he can, and schooling him as much as he can, and with as much success as he can. So I think you have to have faith in Nicky if the choice they make is to go over hurdles again. And Nico, when they judge that hurdles is the right thing, then you've got to have faith in them and appreciate that. And hopefully it'll have a really, really good outcome, and we'll get to see him maybe as the champion hurdle winner. You never know.
That's such a good point, though, because the owner, Michael Buckley and Nicky Henderson, are really carrying a burden, really, if they decide to go back hurdling, aren't they?
That's the thing, isn't it? There's so much pressure on them now, and there are so many eyes on him that it is a really difficult situation because we don't want him to get hurt. And there's no guarantee either way. We know how difficult it is with horses, full stop. They can hurt themselves doing any little thing. They can hurt themselves in the field. So it's one of those really, really, really difficult situations. But there's just so much at stake for Constitution Hill as a horse himself, and it's it's going to be a very difficult decision, whatever they decide to do, but I have faith that they will. They're the only people that know the horse, aren't they? Jaden, who looks after him, Nico, like I can sit here and say this, but I don't know Constitution Hill. They're the only people that do, and we have to trust their judgment.
Cheltenham, what do you think to the changes ahead of the 2026 festival?
They sound very positive and promising. It remains to be seen whether that translates to the numbers on the day and good customer reviews, because they're two things the racecourse has struggled with at the festival over the last 2 years. I reported on them. I wrote one of the first big articles about it that got mentioned on the opening show to introduce their debate on Cheltenham and its kind of situation as a track at the festival and how it treats its customers and things. So, I think Cheltenham has some, simple things that they don't necessarily get right now all the time, but the changes do seem positive, and I'm really looking forward to heading back to the festival and seeing what it's going to be like. And I'm really, really excited for Trials Day, because as a race course and as a venue, there's really no place like it. So it's such a shame if it lacks atmosphere, or if people aren't enjoying themselves, or if people are being put off from going for so many different reasons. And it's not an easy problem for Cheltenham to solve, but it is the focal point in the calendar. It's the biggest time for racing, when racing is kind of in its own right. With Aintree, there's always the controversy around antis, and with Royal Ascot, it gets into the public eye because of the Royals and things. But Cheltenham's when racing itself gets into the public eye by itself, doing its own thing. And I think, like we've been saying, it looks like it could be a really, really great festival with the different clashes like Champion Hurdle, Gold Cup, etc. So I just really hope it turns out to be a really positive occasion. But equally, the changes need to have made positive impacts, don't they? And be in a position where we can say, actually, yes, this is great, but people need to hold them accountable if they aren't. It's the focal point, and there's a lot of responsibility for that. And like I said before, you can't rest on your laurels in racing. Racing is constantly fighting for its position in people's public eye, and plenty of people, I put it in a tweet the other day, like, are people willing to spend an amount of money and take a day off work to go to the Cheltenham Festival? That's what we need to find out. And I think that's what the 2026 festival is going to show us.
And they've frozen ticket prices, haven't they? And there's a 20% discount if you buy a ticket for another day at the festival.
Yeah, so that's a good plan, where you can get a discount for if you buy multiple days. But they say they've frozen them, but they the ticket price before the start of December, before they put the prices up, were the same as what was on the door in 2024. So it has gone up markedly in price. I think about £35 per ticket, higher than what they had before. So I'm personally a little bit skeptical of this idea of kind of freezing prices and things. And because if, comparing to my first year when I reported on the festival, it's gone up significantly gate price wise. So, but then everything has in life, hasn't it? There's massive amount of inflation in prices with obviously the economic difficulties the country's going through. So it's difficult to weigh up, but they definitely seem to be putting things in place this year to make it more affordable for people. But those who think, oh yeah, I had a nice time at Christmas, I'm going to go to the Cheltenham Festival now, are getting a little bit of a shock when they see what the price is. So it depends when you buy your ticket really. But they Cheltenham have made an effort to promote it to people on the race courses of when there are discounted tickets and things. I know they did it at the December meeting and the November meeting and the October meeting and even April as well. So they did make it as clear to people as they could that there was tiered pricing and things. So it's I think that's a good strategy for the really dedicated racing fans to go year on year. They're supported by that, which is quite nice, but it's those people who are going to look to buy now that might be put off a little bit because it is quite a lot of money.
Where are you with the possibility of having Cheltenham on a Saturday?
It shouldn't go to 5 days. I wouldn't go myself if it went on to a Saturday because I don't think it's the racecourse itself isn't the problem. It'd be getting to and from with a lot of drunk men, and that's not something that as a woman I would be that comfortable going racing and trying to do and trying to get back on a Saturday and things when there's a lot of other sports going on and there's a lot of people are marketing it like it'd be a good day to take your kids racing. It wouldn't. It'd be all the people who can't go in the week who decide to have a nice time and get very, 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 very drunk. And then you have to go on a bus and a train with them. And that's not something that necessarily appeals to me. It would also put the racing in competition with football and things and rugby. And I'm afraid racing just wouldn't win with it. I think it's nice with its 4 days. People know when it is. People see the coverage and things. But racing, like I've been saying, racing can't. It'd just be shooting itself in the foot by putting it in competition with itself when it has to fight for every pair of eyes on it anyway.
Another interesting subject is where no one knows the answer really is Kempton. What do you think about the possibility of the racecourse being sold?
I think Kempton as a racecourse, as in the grass itself, showed just how fantastic it is with the jukebox man and everybody, and it was brilliant racing, and it's all weather racing with horses like Enable have ran there. I remember we've discussed that before. I think when she's ran in the September race there and ahead of her ARC bids and things, and that's why the racecourse is great. And it did have a massive crowd, which is fantastic, but I've heard a lot of reports that the actual infrastructure on the track isn't really tailored for crowds that big. So there was a power cut and I think two, if somebody told me there, and the bars are looking a bit run down. The whole place is looking a little bit run down because it just hasn't had the money put into it. I think because we've had this spectre for so long of the fact it might be sold, and unfortunately, I think it's just going to be like we can sentimentally absolutely love the place, but unfortunately, it's not a case of us liking it. It's a case of what's the economic decision that they're going to make, what makes financial sense to the jockey club. And I know there's a lot of government pressures in terms of housing and things, and it could be quite a lucrative place and it's a desirable location. So unfortunately, I think those big economic financial decisions will come above racing and racing's interests, no matter the amount of sentimentality that's shown by us, because obviously we love the track and it has an immense amount of value in the racing calendar, and it would be a horrible decision for the sport. But I fear the money side of things will win the day in time, but it won't be. I don't think it'll be a quick thing. I think we've got a couple of King Georges left.
Let's think about 2026. I'm going to ask you now for your Gold Cup and Champion Hurdle winner.
Oh, okay. Gold Cup, Galopin des Champs. I think he can regain it, which would be lovely. But like I said, it's such an open race. I'll probably change my mind leading up to it. And then Champion Hurdle, probably Sagino. But Lossie will give him a good run for his money if she gets put in that race.
Now, here's a harder question. A classic winner in 2026. And I looked up it was a bit hard really to predict a Derby winner back in January 25, and you went for a horse of Aidan O'Brien's called Grafton Street, and I did look up only a couple of days ago, and he did win a maiden in September.
No, I'd forgotten about him, to be honest. Yeah, I was just
That
looking
was his only run as a 3-year-old.
Oh God, well, maybe he's one to keep an eye on for next year then, everybody. Maybe, I don't know, the Irish St Ledger. Does that count as a classic when they come
Yeah, it was a
in the
maiden over a mile and 3 furlongs, so he obviously stays. So.
Oh, okay. Well, he might pop up somewhere then. We'll have to all keep an eye out on him. But I think I didn't really know in terms of classic winner, to be honest. But I think what I'd really love to see after the very sad news of Ian Balding's passing, very recently, is Andrew Balding to have a Derby winner. We obviously covered the horsepower documentary in quite a lot of detail, and there was a really moving moment in that between Andrew and his dad, and obviously the Derby is so important to them and the legacy of the yard and things, and I'd really love to see Andrew have a Derby winner, especially after that really, really sad news.
Yeah, that would be nice. And actually, I was going to mention that because when I was working at the National Horse Racing Museum, I think it's at the new site, Ian came in one day and I went upstairs where he was going through the gallery and then had a chat with him. And as a result of that, got a bit of a correspondence going with him over, must have been 2 or 3 years, and did some blogs for the National Horse Racing Museum website. And he was such a charming, kind person. He sent me some notes back in letter form. And really sad news to hear that he'd passed away earlier today.
A true great of racing. I mean, he's with Mill Reef and obviously such a wonderful legacy with his family and even away from racing. He's got some very capable grandchildren, and Claire's doing fantastic work, and it's very, very sad news.
Well, thank you again, Sam, for being on the Paddock and the Pavilion. The best of luck for 2026. We haven't mentioned uni at Oxford. You've got 1 more year left.
Yeah, so I've got 2 terms left. I'll be all done by Royal Ascot, which is quite scary. All the big important work's getting done now, so keeping me busy. And I'm very, very just going to relish those last few months there. It's an absolute honour to get to have that education and to be able to live in such a wonderful place and have learn with such fantastic academics, and I'm just going to lap it all up and revise hard and try and get out of it with the best degree I possibly can.
Sounds like you've really enjoyed being at Oxford University.
I have. It's just the greatest place on earth. It's such an honour to be able to study there, and I'm very nerdy, and I've just absolutely loved the process of just learning about topics and becoming an expert in 8 weeks and things, and being able to write about it and learn from such incredible, like I say, academics and people who are literally leaders in the field and have written foundational texts and things. It's an absolute it's just a privilege, and I'm going to miss it so much. But yeah, important work now, big extended essay and dissertation and things, and it's keeping me busy.
And presumably before you go back, you've got some essays to crack on with after you finish this podcast interview. Yeah,
so I've got one on the Northern Ireland Troubles that's due on some point next week. Might be 2 weeks yesterday. And it's got to get that done, and then my dissertation's on courts martial in the Second World War, and I love it, and it's absolutely fantastic. So I'm studying away.
Well, good luck with that, and thank you again for being on the Paddock and Pavilion.
Thank you so much for having me. Happy New Year.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network. Switching between different tools to finish a project can feel stressful and disjointed, especially while juggling tight deadlines in a fast-paced work environment. Now, there's a better way. Grammarly built a writing surface that's a game changer for professionals. It helps move your ideas forward and sharpen your words for better results, all in one place. With Grammarly's AI agents, you get writing support at every step to bring polish and impact to your emails, reports, and proposals without the tab overload. Email sounds robotic, phrasing feels off, writing for a high-stakes client. Grammarly's got you covered. You can even ask Grammarly's AI chat to help brainstorm brilliant proposals, summarize meeting notes in seconds, or even shape a winning sales strategy, all right from your dock. 93% of professionals say that Grammarly helps them get more done. And now, it's your turn. Sign up for free and get stronger results. Faster work, smarter sentences, clearer finishes. Visit Grammarly.com to get started. That's Grammarly.com.